Hello and welcome to Agri-Foods for Youth, Women and Men podcast, where we discuss and showcase proven solutions to the challenges facing agriculture in Kenya and in Africa at large. My name is Harriet Mawia. In today's episode, we are going to look into a topic that I think we seem to forget most of the time, and that is the engagement of rural women in agriculture. So I know for myself and even for yourself, if you've been to the rural side in Kenya or even in Africa, we see rural women participating in agriculture a lot. And according to the data and the statistics, it shows that the labor force that in agriculture is actually provided by between 45 to 65% of rural women, meaning that these women are actively engaged in agriculture, providing labor, providing, not only labor, but also skills that they have and knowledge that they have in agriculture. But despite their engagement in agriculture as a whole, they face various challenges and difficulties. For instance, some of these women are actually in their age group where they do have other responsibilities such as childcare, or they are in their childbirth era, so they of course give birth to kids, and so they have to take care of their kids as they juggle the work in the shamba. And if you've visited these women in the rural areas, you can see for sure, to some extent, they do struggle with doing all that work, yet they might not have any help to facilitate or to help them. And one thing that makes them be in a position where they do not have probably help or ability to get someone to assist them with this work is, of course, lack of access to finance or lack of access to money, and as well the financial systems that we have, they rarely look into, providing money or loans to women so that they can use this money to do agricultural production and also to be able to get, additional labor to assist them in doing their agriculture activities. So they face the lack of finances and access to finance. Another major challenge that these women face is the lack of land, where they do not have land titles or they do not own these pieces of land that they work on. And of course, this is something that stems from the cultural and socially constructed, gender roles and cultural practices, where we see that men are the ones who own land or who are given, title deeds for land, and rural women, they rarely, have that. Actually, the statistics show that despite women being engaged in agricultural production and providing labor, providing their skills, only about 2% of these women own land. So the 98% of women in agriculture, they do not own, land. And I think this is a systemic challenge that has continually happened, and I'm not sure what we need to do to change that, but I will leave that for you. In the comment section, please fill us in. Let us know what are some of the things we need to do to make sure that we see our women owning land or being given rights to be owners of land in agricultural systems. Another challenge that women face is, of course, lack of the skills that they need to apply in agricultural production. For instance, they might not acquire the required training in agricultural production or the skills that they need, to do agricultural production. And this is a major challenge, because if you're doing something and you do not know how to go about it, or you do not have skills and knowledge, and recent knowledge actually, maybe recent knowledge on technologies or recent knowledge on various inputs that you need to use, or be it seed varieties, be it even fertilizer. If you do not have that knowledge, it becomes hard to do agriculture and it becomes successful. And therefore, women in the rural areas, they lack the trainings that they need to, or we can say the training is limited. Of course, there are some success stories where we have seen various organizations and grassroots organizations, training women on how to do agriculture, on how to adapt to climate change issues. I am, of course, I am aware of some organizations, I might not mention them here, but where they provide training to women, rural women in agriculture, on how to adapt to climate change, for instance. They show them, you can use this kind of technology, or you can do, be it, the type of cultivation you need to do, be it monocropping or, intercropping of crops, or even how to lay out your farm so that you can adapt to climate change. I'm sure there are organizations that are doing that, but they do not cover the entire, for instance, country or even the continent. So we still have gaps where there are so many other women who are not given that kind of knowledge, or they do not have the training on what they need to do to have increased production in their agriculture. And therefore, these are some of the major problems that rural women in agriculture face. Again, another challenge that they face, of course, is the burden of poverty. And poverty, of course, it can be a general problem, which of course makes them not have, of course, money. As I mentioned earlier, there is limited access to finance. But then, of course, when you're poor, you don't have money, and you have limited access to that money, then it becomes difficult to be empowered or to move from, doing the same, doing something better, especially in your agricultural production. So personally, when I go to the rural areas, I personally live in the rural areas, and I see how rural women really struggle. They struggle to come out of poverty, to access finance, to access, various inputs that they need to do agriculture. And I think of what could be the solutions that we can apply or that we can bring forth to these forgotten rural women. And don't get me wrong, I know there are different organizations, as I said, that are trying to help the rural women. But I believe this can be of impact if it's something that can be done in a large scale, where we don't just factor women in a place A and forget women in a place J or place Z, but we factor all the women in the country or all the women in Africa if it's possible. So there's a need to continue talking and to continue advocating for the rural women in agriculture so that we can see most of them benefit from not only trainings, but also ability to access finance. Of course, this will come, of course, from the financial institutions that will allow women to own land, to access funds, even if they do not have collateral, of course, the land. So these are some of the things I think we need to discuss more and to showcase more, because if we do not talk about them, who will talk about that? And actually, I think I just remembered what we need to name this episode. I think we need to name it as the forgotten rural farmers, rural women farmers, because they are indeed to some extent forgotten. And we need to remember them and to talk about the different things that they face, the challenges that we face, and hopefully we can have solutions, or we can come up with solutions that we can support them in. When I was coming in to shoot this particular episode, I happened to talk to a young lady, Gen Z, and I asked her if she would be interested to do agriculture. She told me, no, I wouldn't want to suffer. Like agriculture looks like something you would only do as a last resort, because it seems like it's kind of a suffering, thing that you would not want to put yourself into. And I think that's a misconception, or it's a perception of agriculture that is not good, especially to our younger women. And therefore, I'm sure these younger women will only participate in agriculture if they can see the other women that have been doing agriculture, being considered and having agriculture as a profitable venture, and also not in poverty, I believe. Therefore, we really need to make agriculture look, not just look, but be a sector or activities that young women would want to do, because there is, of course, the aspect of being profitable, the aspect of pulling people out of poverty, and also there's ease in doing agriculture. There's facilitation, there's, of course, you have access to all these things that you need, inputs, training, as well as finances. And if we're gonna make such changes, then I think that's when we'll, young people, especially young women, will want to engage in agriculture. And therefore, we are here at AgriFoods podcast. We try to speak about these topics and to see the level of awareness we could create on showcasing some of these challenges, so that we can find solutions, and so that we can be part of the many other people that are trying to come up with solutions to help our rural farmers who are women, our rural women who are doing farming, and also make agriculture something that is admirable to the young women. I remember in a previous podcast where we were discussing how to make agriculture more, admirable and something that young women would want to do, or young men. And one thing we said was about using technology and also making agriculture more modern by making sure we do not continue to use the same old things that we have done before, where we have, women doing too much. But if there is the use of technology, I think that provides, it eases the aspect of labor, and there's technology to do that. There's the aspects of making agriculture modern that would help even the younger women to want to join agriculture. Here at AgriFoods, actually, we look forward to engaging with young women who are doing agriculture. So if you are a young woman and you're engaged in agriculture and you would want us to visit your farm and to learn more about what you're doing, so that we can showcase to the other young women, we are available to partner with you, or to come and see what you're doing, and as well showcase that to the younger women who would want to join farming.